Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Let's Align podcast. I'm your host, Ruhi, and honestly, I couldn't be more excited about today's episode because I have been looking forward to this conversation for weeks. If you ever felt overwhelmed by clutter or weighed down by all the stuff in your life, both physically and emotionally, trust me, you're in the right place. Today, I have the absolute pleasure of welcoming my guest, someone who really gets the emotional stories behind the things we hold on to. And her book, Put That Stuff Down, has completely changed the way I think about decluttering and healing. For me, this conversation is especially meaningful because I know how much our environment can impact our well being. I can't wait to hear her insights and share them with all of you. So, thank you for tuning in and join me for what I know will be an inspiring and uplifting conversation. Valarie, welcome to my show, and I'm so thrilled to have you today.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm looking forward to this conversation. I know that our listeners and myself included are eager to hear your practical, heartfelt tips for clearing both our homes and our minds. So let's get started. Even before I have some questions for you, why don't you just share a bit about yourself for our audience for them to know more about you?
Yeah, so basically, I'm Valerie, and I'm a trauma informed decluttering coach. That sounds a little bit wordy, but basically, I help people let go of their past, let go of some belongings that take too much place in their home or their office. So they are able to live the life that they want. They can take control of their life and their home.
Well, that well, I think it's the most creative introduction that I have heard of late. So thank you for that. Now, I have read a lot about decluttering as a way to tidy our homes, but what really caught my attention is how you basically talk about it as a path to personal healing. I would love to hear from you. Can you share your own personal story? Like, what was the turning point in your journey where you realized that decluttering wasn't just about cleaning up your space, but actually a process of healing?
Yeah, I will come back to the beginning of my 20s, young mom with kids at home and husband working as well. And one day my mom came home and she said, Val, are you cooking for an army? Like, I wasn't understanding what she was telling me. But when she left, I opened my pantry and there were maybe 20 pack of pasta, 15 pounds of flour, and I don't know how many cans. It was accumulating food. And then I looked around and my kids has more toys than the daycare. I had clothes 3 size up, 3 size down, just in case. As a woman, we often change weight. And then I looked around and in the entrance, there were some packages unopened or shopping bags with the things still in. So for me, it was, oh, I just need to tidy up a bit, put the things in my bedroom when someone comes home and I'm all good. It was don't take
Yeah.
ownership of that at all. But then my husband got a transfer notice. So the moving estimator came home and he told us, ma'am, we cannot move you. You have too much stuff. You need
Hmm.
to let go of at least 50% of what you have. 50%. I fall down. It was kind of too much. We had 3 months to declutter and we were not able to achieve that. So my husband has to move first and I stay behind. And I will always remember the night when he left where I faced myself sitting in front of our storage room and I started crying. And I hadn't cried for many, many years. But then there was some question like, am I a hoarder? What will I do with all that stuff? It's good stuff. What will I do with it? I don't want to send that to the landfill. Where will I take the energy to clear that? So I was a little bit spiraling down as well. My mental health was not as its top. But some people will have said that, oh, they hit rock bottom. But I said that I hit my turning point in
Hmm.
a sense that the following morning, When I got up, I had a plan. I will declutter for 30 minutes every single day. So I start decluttering, and you should have seen me so proud to bring some boxes to the thrift store to donate. And on my way back, they were garage sign on the corner of the street. Oh my God, what treasure can I find there? So it was really a battle between letting go and stopping accumulating things. Because when you let go of clutter, it creates a void around you. And I was not ready to deal with that void. But as it moved on as a roller coaster, at some point, I realized that I'm not yelling anymore. I
Mm-hmm.
have more emotion like smiling and laughing, and I don't need a nap in the afternoon. I'm more energized. Or my mental health is doing better. I have no more flashbacks or I have no more nightmares. So all the symptoms that I'm describing were symptoms of what is called PTSD or post-trauma um, stress disorder that is now often called just post-trauma stress, PTS. But the thing is, as I learned to let go of my belongings, I let go of my trauma symptom. I let go of the coping mechanism that I had, like purchasing too much things. So let go of that. So I really regain control of my life and start feeling better.
Well, I think that's quite inspiring to hear from you, and thanks for sharing that. And I'm hopeful that people listening will find a lot of hope in what you said just now, because it shows that healing doesn't always have to begin with something huge or dramatic. Sometimes, as you called out, the everyday actions like like clearing up a corner or sorting through a drawer, that can actually start to shift how we feel inside. And as you said, every day you started clearing, and that really helped you. So
Yeah.
that's very helpful. Now, sometimes looking at all the stuff piling up around us doesn't just feel overwhelming. It actually feels heavy, almost like it's pressing on us emotionally.
Yeah.
I would love to hear your thoughts on why the stuff we own can sometimes feel so much bigger than just the physical items.
The thing is, often the people that accumulate a lot of stuff is because they had a trauma in their past.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, we are on that fight or flight mode, that we
Yeah.
hear about. And
Mm-hmm.
for that, we accumulate more cortisol than other people, cortisol being the stress hormones. So what happened is we become really overwhelmed and tired and all of this because when our cortisol is too high, that is impacting the frontal lobe of our brain, where are the executive function. So let me give you an example. Somebody, medical professional or uh, business owner, or they're performing really, really good at work. And then they arrive home and it's kind of, oh my God, what do I do with that? They flop on the couch and order takeout. And that's because they arrive home and there's much stuff. So first, their cortisol is high. That slow down the frontal lobe. So everything like planning, organizing, sorting, working memory, all of that is slowed down. And then they see all the stuff and our brain is catching all the information at the same time, even if we're not focusing on it. So it's stimuli and stimuli and stimuli to the brain. So the brain gets overwhelmed and doesn't know what to do with that information anymore. So with the executive function that are slowed down, plus that overwhelm of the brain, people just feel discouraged and overwhelmed and, oh my God, that's a mountain. I don't know where to start. So that's really what is the situation of people that have too much clutter at home.
Well, when you explain it that way, it definitely makes me realize how much of what we keep isn't just about the item itself. It's the memories, it's the meaning, or even the unresolved emotions tied to it. And that's why sometimes a pile of things feels more like a weight on the heart than just clutter in the room. Uh,
Yeah.
so many of us have those big name tidying techniques. Maybe we have sorted things into piles or cleared our whole closets, only to find that the clutter somehow creeps back in and we just end up feeling stuck. Now, why do you think popular decluttering methods often, don't stick, especially for people who have been through trauma or emotional hardships?
Yeah, I call that the pendulum effect. You let go of clutter, it come back. And if you let go faster, it will come back faster. So what happened is traditional method, they want that you declutter right away and do the longest time you can, the biggest crunch, because you will have let go of more things. The problem is when you do that, it creates a void around the person. And when we have trauma, that void represents insecurity. So we need to fill up that void afterwards so the clutter will come back. It's a
Hmm.
little bit like weight loss, we have a set point, and if we go too below the set point, we will kind of come back progressively to that set point. Same with clutter. And the thing is, in our method, the Do Well method, we start completely differently. We have a 4-step process, okay?
Hmm.
And in that 4-step, the last step is the one where we declutter the belongings or the space. It's the last one because we tried them in different order. And every single time that one was not the last one, clutter came back. But when people are tackling the 4-step, they're able to maintain. And that is what is beautiful. We find a way that people can declutter
Hmm.
and maintain afterwards. So you're probably curious about the 4-step.
Absolutely. I would love to know a bit more about it if you can share.
Yeah, so the very first step is about reducing the stress. As
Hmm.
I explained to you, the cortisol is too high, the stress hormone. So we need to reduce that first. And when we are able to reduce that, our brain, the executive function are kicking in. For example, I go to the mail after work and I'm able to let go right away of the flyers and the things that I didn't request and open my mail and sort it at the right place. Versus someone with a lot of cortisol, go to the mail, get in the home, put it on the countertop on the rest of the pile, and then lay down. So it's completely different because the executive function had kicked in, so the person is able to do the decluttering of the mail and the sorting. It can be that with laundry that is not fold after laundry is done. It can be lots of different simple tasks that accumulate and piles up, and
Hmm.
then we feel overwhelmed. So the very first step, we reduce the stress. So that kicks in those executive function. The second step is mindset. When you try to declutter and your mindset is not set in a way that I want less stuff because I will feel better, and you're in the mindset still of the society in which we live, where the more things you have, the more status you have, until you become what is called hoarders.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you don't shift the mindset, it's really, really hard to let go. So we talk about emotion, we talk about how to let go of item, we talk about attachment, like different subject that at the end of the day will make that the people are able to let go of what is unnecessary. So that's the second step. The third step is about time. Clutter didn't accumulate in a day. It won't go overnight. And we don't want it to go overnight because it will
Absolutely.
create another trauma. So it's really to figure out, when will I declutter during my normal schedule? Where will I be able to input those decluttering moments? Because consistency is way more, with the compound effect, will bring way more decluttering than doing a big weekend of decluttering. And the other thing, because you create that space around you progressively, you get used to that space. So you have that time of, you get used and you're not building back clutter. And the last step is about decluttering the belongings, because now we know when we will declutter, we know how we will declutter, and our executive function are working. So we're able to do the decluttering. So that's why our method is completely different. And can I pick up on Marie Kondo for a second?
Absolutely. Please go ahead.
Marie Kondo is a really, really good decluttering expert and published books and a series of Netflix. The thing is, she's asking to touch her belongings and
Mm-hmm.
see, does it feel joy? Does that feel joy? And if yes, I keep it. If no, I let it go. So the thing is, with somebody that had trauma, her methodology worked a lot with a lot of people. But for somebody that had trauma, when you touch something, there's a link between the sense of touch and the limbic system in the brain. And this is where all our emotion, our memories of trauma or things like that are stored. So when you touch the item, it's like, oh, it's grandma who gave it to me in that occasion. I cannot let go of it. Or, oh, it's auntie that gave it to me. She will know if I let it go. And all those memories and those feelings that we're not able to associate will
Mm-hmm.
come right away in our body from the limbic system. And then people will feel overwhelmed and say, you know what? I'll declutter later. The only problem is later never come. So what do we do if we cannot touch our item when we want to declutter? That's what we solve with our method. So we have people wear a pair of gloves.
Mm-hmm.
As simple as that. But when you wear a pair of gloves, you're touching the gloves, you're not touching the item.
Yeah.
So you don't have all that wave of emotion overwhelming you. So
Experiences, emotions. Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
so then people are able to declutter 40% more.
Yeah, I really love the perspective that you brought in here because, as you said, when when you're being advised, to touch the object and let us know how does it make you feel? Is it joy? Does it feel good? But then you came up with the new concept that says wear gloves because it really builds that wall for someone who is really struggling, to let go of certain things. I really love that perspective, and it explains why so many people try those quick fix methods and then feel discouraged when the clutter comes back. It's uh, it's not that they are doing something wrong. It's that those methods don't acknowledge the emotional layers underneath, like how you spoke about it. And hearing you say that is so freeing because it gives people permission to see their experiences as valid, and definitely it opens up a new, more compassionate way forward. So thanks for sharing that. Uh, your work and approach are clearly unique, and I know our listeners would love to understand it better. I Could you just walk us through your signature method that you said in a very simple way? Maybe for someone who is listening just for the very first time, if you could break it down the 4 steps with some kind of relation that they can understand.
Yeah, so again, the fourth step of the dual method, the very first one is to reduce the stress.
Yes. Yeah.
Because when we're stressed, let's
Mm-hmm.
say I have a job that is stressful. I'm an ER doctor, for example, or I'm a policeman, or I'm a business owner, and your work is stressful and you have to make lots of decisions all day long. You arrive home and you are all stressed. But when you're stressed like that, you cannot maintain that all the time. So you arrive home and it's kind of, oh, and all that tiredness come, and then you're not able to utilize your executive function. So part of your brain that is thinking and making decision is more
Mm-hmm.
difficult to reach out. So it's really like, oh, not tonight. I'll do that tomorrow. So that's because the stress is so high. So we work on stress first so that people are able to make those decisions and have the energy to do the decluttering. That's the very first step. The second step about mindset is often, oh, but I'm attached to those belongings, or these belongings worth value. I paid X amount of money for them. The thing is, they also take space, or what we call real estate, inside your home and making you not enjoying your home. There's a price to that as well if we calculate the place that they take, and for how long. So it's couple shift in the mindset and accepting to deal with some emotion, because there will be some emotion coming up in decluttering. So we work on mindset to really be able to learn how to let go and experience those emotions safely. The third step is about time. So it's really like, okay, I will declutter 30 minutes in the morning every day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's to adjust also a routine so we feel more energized to do the decluttering. If it's not in your calendar, people will find unlimited amount of other activity that they can do than
Yeah.
decluttering. So that's why it's important to manage our calendar and realize that we are the one putting the things in our calendar. It's nobody else. So we are in control of that calendar. It's not the calendar that's controlling us. And then the last step is the one about decluttering the belongings. So that's the one where we start tackling and make decision and sorting using the gloves to be sure that, okay, what do I do with that? Is that an object that I want to keep, or is it someone that I want to let go? Okay, I want to let go. Okay, which way? Do I want to donate it? Do I want to sell it? Do I want to put it in the trash? Is it something not good and I put in the recycle? Is it something I need to shred because my personal information is on it? That's when we start asking questions, but all in a way that is one step at a time. And be sure to celebrate every single wins. Even the smallest decision is a win. And that is so important, because when you celebrate, you have other good hormones that are created and generated and feed your brain happiness. And when we have all of this,
Mm-hmm.
it's her brain end up the decluttering session saying, oh, when she asked me to make decision, I get those good hormones. Next time she will want to declutter, I will be prone to start my decluttering session right away because I want those good hormones. Versus somebody that do a big session and don't celebrate, the brain just learn, you know what? That was painful, long, lots of decision. I don't want to do this again. And we will procrastinate.
Well, I think that's the most beautiful way that you have explained. And what I loved is one step at a time and celebrating the smallest wins in that entire journey. And I think that's the difference with your approach. It doesn't feel overwhelming, it feels supportive, like a hand guiding you rather than the system bossing you around. As you said, that if it's easy and if it's doable, definitely people will look forward and enjoy. Uh, from my perspective, and this is just my personal observation, I have noticed that sometimes it can be tricky to tell whether our struggle with clutter is simply about everyday disorganization or if it's hinting at something more beneath the surface. So, in your experience, what are some clear signs that clutter in our lives might not just be about being messy, but could actually be linked to some underlying stress or unresolved emotions, or maybe even past trauma?
When we have those bad days where we want to stay in bed,
Mm-hmm.
and then afterwards we say, oh, it accumulated because I had some bad days. That's a sign that there's something underlying. When it starts to be, oh, I don't want to invite friends or family over because I'm too ashamed, there's something there. It's not just everyday mess. There's a situation where we're trying to hide behind the clutter. And, when we add a trauma, it's like if when we build a clutter, and it's unconscious that we do that, but it's like if we build a nest around ourselves, like a protection, like a fortress. And that is for us to be safe. So if you are someone that have had a trauma in your past and you know you had a trauma, there's a big change that the clutter is because of that. Even if you had did therapy and other modality on your trauma, that stress part that make your executive function slow down is often because of that trauma. It doesn't mean we need to dive in the trauma like they do in psychotherapy. This is not what we do in our program, not at all. But it means that you know that there's a reason you're not lazy.
Mm-hmm.
There's a physiological reason why the clutter is there. And that means we can tackle it and we can let go of it. So it's really a different approach. Like in our program, it's really like, okay, I'm here. Like I
Mm-hmm.
have clutter on a scale, maybe 7 out of 10. And I want to get here when I have maybe 2 out of 10. How do I get there? It's all positive and moving forward, contrarily to some thought therapy or psychotherapy. And I have nothing against that. They have their work to do that will dive into, okay, what was the trauma? How did it happen? What, all those questions that make the person relive the trauma. We don't do that.
Well, I think that makes a lot of sense. And the way you describe those signs really highlights that clutter isn't just about being untidy. It can be almost like a reflection of what we are holding inside. And for someone listening right now, just hearing you say that could be such, I would say, aha moment, because it takes the focus away from the blame and instead shifts it towards understanding. And it's like the clutter becomes a signal, a way of noticing where we might need to care or start healing. Now, for many people, letting go of certain items can bring up guilt or anxiety, maybe because it was a gift or holds some sentimental value. What's your advice for someone who feels emotionally stuck and doesn't know how to move forward? I think this is going to be my favorite question.
When you feel emotionally stuck, you really need to reduce your stress. I know that sounds weird, but most of the time, that's the reason. The person is stuck because the executive function are really stuck, are really slowed down. Imagine a car, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The car is your clutter. And you try to push the car because the engine is not working. So you try to push away the clutter. If I have some cortisol too high, what happened is it's like if I push the brake on the car. The cortisol is the brake on the car. Try to move that clutter again when the cortisol is there. We won't be able to push it away because the cortisol put the brakes. So
Mm-hmm.
it's the same thing for someone that had trauma. The cortisol is too high, therefore it's really, really hard to let go of the clutter. We feel stuck, and it's a real feel stuck. It's not just, oh, I may be stuck. No, we're paralyzed. Like the same way as someone that has a broken arm won't be able to use that arm properly. So it's our executive function. It's just that we don't see them and people don't talk enough about them. But it's them that are slowed down. So it's hard to plan. It's hard to organize. It's hard to sort things. It's hard to make decisions. People will often realize it's not just with the clutter that they have difficulty making decision. It's with other decision in their life as well. And they get in a room and it's, what was I coming to grab here? Or they're at the grocery. What was I supposed to buy today? Like there's those little all in the memory that are what we call the working memory. And that's another executive function. So, and focus, of course. We hear a lot of focus when people talk about ADHD and ADD,
Mm-hmm.
but focus is an executive function. And if it's slowed down by the cortisol, then it's really hard to focus on doing a task. So it's really not that people are lazy. Yes, items have story, but when people are able to utilize their executive function and wear a pair of gloves, they're able to let go objectively, even if the item has a story. They're able to honor that story and say, it served me in my life, but it doesn't serve me anymore. I can let go of it.
But I think it does take a lot of effort to start thinking, especially the last line that you said, it is not serving any purpose in my life and I need to let it go. Uh, while you're working with your clients, have you had any situation or any experience where you notice that the person had a lot of challenge in letting go of certain things, and
Mhm.
what was your take on that?
Like, for example, I'll take an example of a client who lost a loved one
Mm-hmm.
and they have to go through the closet and the belongings of that person. So it can feel like, oh, if I let go of these item, I let go of the individual that I love. But it's not the case. The person physical body is gone, but it's not the object that represent the person. All your memories, all your souvenir, all your emotion toward that person that you love, you will still have them even if you let go of some of the belongings of that person. So it's really in reframing
Mm-hmm.
the way to see the things. I can take another example of somebody that was not able to tackle her closet, and she didn't know why until we start tackling the closet and she say, oh, I cannot. And I say, why? And she showed me a t-shirt that she got when she was teenager in love, that love story when you're a teenager. But that love story didn't ended well. So she was still holding onto the t-shirt, but it was bringing negative energy at the end because it didn't ended well. So she let go of that piece of clothing. And when that happened, the person was able to tackle her entire bedroom, closet included. It was really that object that was putting a barrier because it was bringing negative emotion.
Well, it's quite reassuring to know that decluttering can be slow, respectful process and not all, or nothing to ask. So thanks for sharing those, real experiences that you had with your clients. I would really love for you to share a story that really stands out to you. Maybe as you spoke about some of your clients, or just a memorable experience where you saw someone make a true breakthrough when it comes to decluttering while they used your approach.
Well, they all make huge breakthrough. It's just kind of fantastic. But, you know, often people say, I'm not motivated to decluttering. And then what brings motivation? Purpose brings motivation. So if you don't have a purpose why you are decluttering, there would be no motivation to declutter. So we tackle what I call the why, that is finding the purpose of that person to declutter their life. And you should see their face when they arrive on the real why. Because we go through different level of why, because if you just ask the first, is it important for you to declutter? It will be a generic sentence. Oh, because I have too much stuff. Okay, but why do you find that you have too much stuff? Oh, because I cannot see my family. I cannot have them come in my house. Why is it important for you to have your family come into your house? Oh, because I have grandchildren and I want to see them more often and play with them. Okay, why is it important for you to play with your grandchildren? Oh, because they are my legacy and I want to transfer them my values. So when we go deep in the why and people find, oh, I want to declutter because I want to share my values with my grandchildren,
Mm-hmm.
it's lighting their face right away. And they're way more inclined the following day to start decluttering, if not right after a session, to start decluttering or continue their decluttering because they know why they are doing it. It's not just a generic answer.
And if I may ask, uh, during your interaction and experience with your clients, is it easier for people to open up for answering the why, or does it need a lot of, uh, you know, engagement from your side for them to open up?
I think it depends. It
Hmm.
depends where they are in their journey. Some people get into a program and have never done therapy or self growth program before. And some other people get in our program and they are in their 70s and have tried all other methods out there. So depending of the growth that the individual had before, it
Hmm.
will make a difference on how their capability of introspection or of looking inside their heart to see what they really want.
Great. Speaking of one of the examples that you have shared, where you said that there is a lot of smile on their face when they actually understand the why. After someone starts letting go of clutter with your, of course, I would say compassionate approach, what changes do they usually notice? Like, do they feel lighter, or are their stress levels lesser? Do they feel motivated, like, or even some changes in other parts of their life?
Yes, they feel so good. Like, I'll tell you a story of a lady that was on disability, going to medical appointment almost every single day because she was having difficulty breathing, and they were trying to find out what was going on. So we went, in that specific case, I went to that client house and helped the client after they had worked and did the three first step of the program, Then we went and helped her declutter her main area to show her the techniques and things like that and support her in her decluttering process. And after we were gone, she was able to continue by herself. But one of the things she told me, like the week after, is, you know what, Valerie? I was able to let the people come and fix my eating system. And we're in Canada. We have winter. So it was over 3 or 4 years that she was not having eating system for the winter. So it can be that, it can be electricity, it can be people are now able to let people come in and help fix things in their home. And that's just one point. Um, that same lady was able to go back and engage at church way more than before because she was starting breathing better because the clutter was not there anymore. So there were less mold and less uh, dust in the air, so she was breathing better. And then she even started working part-time. So her revenue increased as well. And that's even not mentioning, now I will mention them, but how she started feeling worthy, how she started loving herself, all her self-esteem, all um, like her old endeavor change, if that
Hmm.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Her smile, her freedom, she took back control of her life instead of being on disability and just letting life pass in front of her.
Well, that's so empowering to hear how exactly your help, your approach really helps a lot of people to see life from altogether different lens, of course, in a positive way. So thanks for sharing that. For someone listening right now who is feeling completely overwhelmed by the amount of stuff in their home, and maybe, even froze because they don't know where to start, what would you say to help them to take that, let's go ahead with the very first step? What's your advice?
And I gave them a gift
Hmm.
that you will put in the show notes.
Absolutely, I will.
I think the first thing will be to get on that link that will be sharing the notes and get what I call the 7 secrets of decluttering. I
Mm-hmm.
start talking to you about them, like don't touch when you're decluttering or knowing your why. So I start introducing them to you, but there's seven. So there's more that you can learn. So I will say start with that because that is like a small step.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you want, you can get on a call with us or with my team and myself, where we can look at what is the situation and what is the help that you need to be able to move forward, because often we need help. Even coaches need coaches in life. Athletes, Olympic athletes have coaches. So there's nothing wrong about having coaches and support. And I think that is something really, really important to know. So, because I can teach you a breathing technique right here to help you reduce the stress, but will you be able to maintain it without support? So that's why go through the secrets. Then, if you want to have an idea, reach out to our team and you will talk to real people and we'll meet with you and see if it's appropriate for you for your own situation. Our method is for some people, it may not work for some other people.
Well, that's the most comforting way to put it. I'll definitely share all the details and the link that you have mentioned in the show notes so that people can reach out to you. But before we wrap up, I would want you to help our listeners. Uh, One last takeaway or the message that you have for people who are struggling with decluttering.
Know that it's possible to change and to be clutter free. It's that hope, that
Mhm.
is so important to know, not just in your head, but in your heart and in your gut, that it is possible to get rid of clutter and it is possible to let go of the effect of the trauma.
I'm pretty sure our listeners here definitely found the hope in the conversation that I had with you today. And I absolutely enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much for taking time to join me and share your wisdom with my audience today. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on my show. And as I said, I have personally enjoyed this episode immensely. And that brings us to the end of this conversation with Valerie on her beautiful and compassionate approach to decluttering. Thank you so much, Valerie, for being here and sharing your thoughts with our audience today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much.
And if this episode spoke to you, maybe take a moment today to put one thing down, whether it's a physical object or, as Valerie said, any old story you have been carrying or a bit of self judgment. And trust me, you will notice how it feels. Thank you, everyone, for giving your time and attention. It means you're already one step closer to putting that stuff down and making room for what truly matters. Until next time, take care of yourself, take care of your space, and remember, it's always possible, and you deserve a life that feels light and free. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Valerie. Bye bye.